and keep everything on schedule. Appreciate everybody's got busy diaries, so we'll kick off the event. So good morning. Welcome to the 11th Sheffield IoT Meetup, where our theme today focuses in on IoT rail. Now, my name is Mark Davies, so I'm CEO of Ioetec, and I'll be hosting the next hour or so in the event. When we set up this meetup group 20 months or so ago, the idea was to build an IoT ecosystem that enables individuals, organizations, and interested parties to share their capabilities and hopefully stimulate conversations, some that I've already witnessed this morning, and collaboration, something I'm pleased to say occurs, and I hope today's event will encourage even more. We hope to bring together parties to make real-world IoT applications happen through facilitating technology, R&D, and commercial partnerships. And finally, to promote Sheffield as a leading IoT centre and lay the groundwork for larger events and network activities that reinforces the region's digital reputation. I must first of all thank our sponsors Pitch-In of the University of Sheffield. As always, I'd like to thank Kerry, Rosie, Elizabeth and Stephen who actually make this event happen behind the scenes, and they'll be in the background as moderators, ensuring everything runs as smoothly as possible today. We're also pleased to be part of the Sheffield Digital Festival running all this week and its remote control theme, and take a look online at what events are running throughout this week in the Digital Festival. And it's also always great to see so many of you return from our previous events. We've had 10 so far in the last 20 months, and to welcome a lot of new online viewers. So, to today's theme, it's IoT in rail, as I say. The UK railways are critical to our country's economic success, as they've been since the age of Brunel. Much of the UK rail network is either near or at capacity, and there is currently not enough of it to enable freight growth, the most environmentally friendly way of moving large volumes of goods long distances, and infrastructure such as signalling is close to expiry and creating reliability problems. Through the rail sector deal, the government is investing billions, so about 48 billion to be spent over the next few years on maintaining and upgrading the existing network to boost performance and sustain growth, increasing reliability and punctuality for passengers and freight operators. Transformative projects like HS2 will become the backbone of our country's rail network. And delivering the benefits of new digital rail technology is at the heart of this rail sector deal. Today, you'll be hearing from a series of expert speakers whose companies are carving the way in their advancement of our rail network, helping the UK become a world leader in rail technology. Now, Unipart is a leader in the application of digital in Industry 4. They're engaged in a wide-ranging program to continually develop digital capability across their businesses, deploying technology and advanced supply chains that are built on their mechanical, electric, and electronic manufacturing, service repair and overhaul capabilities, keeping the existing assets of railways at peak performance. A recent winner of the coveted Rail Business Award for Excellence, 3 Squared provide digital and software solutions for the rail industry. Their groundbreaking RailSmart suite of digital solutions help tackle known and emerging challenges faced by the rail sector. Bringing the AMRC's knowledge and expertise in aerospace and automotive and applying it horizontally to the rail industry, the engineers developed the maintenance 4 cell at its Factory 2050 facility to shine a light on the range of IR4 technologies and support maintenance and quality improvements in rail. And of course, safety and security of the rail systems has been at the forefront of the rail industry ever since the Red Flag Act of 1865, which required locomotives pulling multiple wagons to be crewed by 3 men to travel at a maximum of 4 miles per hour, and a man carrying a red flag to walk at least 60 yards ahead. Now, whilst the train speed has increased in the past 150 years, so has the safety requirements, and in this digitalised world, the security threats. The modern age rail system is a complex network of networks with an incredibly large threat service, and RazorSecure's products and services enhances rail cybersecurity designed specifically for rolling stock, signalling and infrastructure. So now, I invite you for the next hour or so to sit back, extend your 11's break and enjoy these 4 presentations. Please do enter any questions you may have in the chat box and I'll pose them to our presenters at the end of each section. With had all over almost a year of this kind of media, so probably well aware of the technical snags that inevitably occur, so bear with us if that happens until we get back on track, forgive the pun. And so may I introduce you to our first speaker, Karen Beardsley, or speakers, Karen Beardsley, who's the Managing Director of Unipart Rail Operations, and Paul Morris, who's the Senior Research Innovation Manager. Karen, Paul.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good morning, everybody. And first of all, my role is currently Managing Director of Unipart Rail Operations, but actually it's about to change into a different role that I won't go into today, but it's part of my plans to actually retire at some point next year. I think the other thing that is worth saying is I'm extremely pleased to be a LEP board member as well for the Sheffield City region. So I've certainly got 2 feet in the camp here today. What I'd like to do is thank everybody for the invite to speak to you today about what we're doing as a business to meet the challenges of the rail sector as it moves to a digital railway, but also think about and talk about how we can work together. I'm really excited about the opportunities that the transition to the digital railway really does provide to Unipart Rail. But I also believe that it provides our region with a real opportunity to be a key player in developing innovative solutions and building a strong innovation and digital sector that allows us to drive the digitisation of the railways at a much faster speed. And that's not just in the UK, but also internationally. I believe Unipart Rail are in a position to work with local businesses to really help bring products, ideas and solutions into the rail sector. I am supported today by Paul, who is our Senior Innovation and Research Manager, and someone who's in a much better position to talk about anything technically and also some of the initiatives that we're already working on. I absolutely do need his support, because if anybody does know me, I'm the last person that can answer any technical questions at all. So anyone who has difficult questions later on or technical ones, Paul will be taking them and not me. Thank you very much. Okay. So who are Unipart Rail? I think many people will know of us, particularly in the rail sector, as a manufacturer and distributor of products for both the infrastructure and rolling stock sectors. But we are much more than that. We are a business that's committed to providing innovative supply chain solutions, technology and products globally. And to support this, we've already made a number of acquisitions in the technology sector. Some of them you may know: Instrumental, Comms Design and Metlays. We turn over about £200 million a year, have 850 employees across global locations, but I'm extremely proud that our head office is in Doncaster. We're part of a much bigger group, Unipart Group, who provides services to blue chip companies like Apple, Sky, and many in the auto sector, to name but a few. Unipart Rail have developed over many years the supply chain and engineering expertise to support the industry, and we're now developing that technology and innovation expertise that really complements these skill sets. We are a global business. We have our own business in the US and a number of joint ventures in Australia and the Middle East. And this year we're also targeting Europe and Asia. We certainly have our resource and presence in these key territories that supports our growth aspirations. And we know that our innovative products and solutions are transferable into these territories. So our reach, knowledge and relationships in the territories are going to be key. Unipart Rail have provided products and services to support maintenance in the rail sector for 25 years, as I've said, across infrastructure and rolling stock. I think maintenance in any sector has its challenges. It's usually based on periodicity, either mileage or time-based. It requires lots of checks between those major maintenance programs. It therefore has unpredictable demand, which means peaks and troughs in work for the maintainer, but also the supply chain. Failures in service are costly, especially in rail with huge penalties for blocking lines, and that drives behaviours to hold high inventories right across the network. People need to feel that inventory around them to protect them for all eventualities. This can often cause conflict between maintenance and supply chain, which I absolutely do know about. We believe that digital technologies provide us with a real opportunity to look at how we do maintenance differently. Unipart has already developed our own inventory and forecasting system that uses machine learning to improve availability of products and reduce inventory, but this cannot be the only solution for us. There is absolutely a better way to manage the assets whilst they are out in operation. We are already working with a number of customers today to monitor performance of the assets, including doors, traction motors and radiators, to name but a few. We can monitor the assets, analyse data quickly and turn this into meaningful information to provide to our customers so that they are able to act and prevent failure. But this is only scraping the surface. There is much more that we could do. I believe that there's a lot more we could do but we have to move quickly because the rail sector has to advance quickly. In some areas we are playing catch up. We're looking for the solutions that are already available and being used in the sectors that can easily transfer into rail, as well as ones that can be developed for rail. But we also believe we can take this asset monitoring much further. Unipart Rail sits in a unique position. We're independent, not linked to any train builders or manufacturers or OEMs. We sit between all of our customers and over 800 suppliers in the UK alone. We've spent the last 12 to 18 months really working hard to integrate digitally with all of our stakeholders so that we can share and transfer data quickly and provide that visibility right across the supply chain that allows us to improve our supply chain operations. We're now looking to integrate the output from the sensors on the assets into the supply chain, which allows us to move from condition-based maintenance to condition-based supply chain. Our vision is for a sensor to detect an issue on an asset. A signal is then sent to the maintainer to prepare to undertake maintenance, and a signal is sent to Unipart Rail to dispatch a product to the maintainer in sync with the date for the planned maintenance activity. In addition, we can send a signal to the supplier to top up my warehouse stock with no manual intervention. To deliver this, as I've said, we've only just scraped the surface on products and solutions. Today is very much about a call to arms. We want to work with partners to deliver new products and better integration to understand the performance of our assets. We believe that Unipart Rail can be your route to market in the UK and internationally. We are able to provide you the expertise to support on testing, trials and gaining the approvals that are required within the rail sector to get your products into that sector quickly. The purpose of Ukraine, DigiRail and indeed today is about bringing technology experts and Unipart Rail together to work out how we can work collaboratively and bring your products into rail. I would now like to hand over to Paul, who is leading this for us in Unipart Rail and will explain much more about DigiRail and Ukraine.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Karen. Not quite sure how I follow that, but here we go. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit this morning. Good morning, I'm Paul Morris, Senior Innovation Research Manager, about how we're going to do it. But first I thought we'd start with, how cool is this? This is going to be the United Kingdom Rail Research and Innovation Network. This is going to be their showcase of all their greatest academia, case studies from the supply chain, SME engagements, testing and commissioning centres. And this is all going to be coming to Unipart Rail's headquarters in Doncaster in the Jupiter building in Q3, Q4 this year, COVID pending. And this is going to be the home of the future railway, and it's going to be right here in the Sheffield City region. And we're very proud to have been given the opportunity to host it. We're obviously keen to promote the great work of the UK rail network across the world, but the truth is we also want to promote Unipart Rail, and of course we want to promote the supply chain within the Sheffield City region, because that's the beating heart of a dynamic, sustainable and diverse industry. And that's how we're going to get these new IoT enabled condition-based maintenance enabled kind of products and services into the market, get them on the railways, because we do need to digitize, we do need to be more sustainable, we need to be more cost effective. And after COVID, we've obviously got a challenge with how people are going to be living, moving, and we want your help to help us design the railways of the future. This is the place where we will do that. This is going to be dynamic, it's going to be engaging, There'll be lecture theatres, conference centre available. We'll have the ability to see all the greatest case studies and see what our clients are asking us for within the rail sector, and your chance to engage with our product management experts, innovation experts, and supply chain experts to help you get your products through this regulatory approvals process and into the marketplace. And that's what this is about. It's a dynamic place, and we're hoping that we can invite you later this year and we can tell you all about it. I will get through into why we're going to do that in a second, but I think actually to start with, people might wonder, well, what's in it for us? We've never worked in rail before. Actually, that's not a problem as far as we're concerned, because we are your supply chain route to market. We don't mind. We are there to help you with engineering, product acceptance, regulatory approvals. And of course, there are a number of things we have to do, perhaps in the laboratory as well. And we're working with the University of Birmingham, the Railway Centre for Research, and therefore we have the application to use their laboratories, their academics, their testing, their simulation equipment. And basically, we've been asked by BCRRE to offer the DigitalRail program within the Sheffield City region. Now, this is an SME supply chain support program. It's currently in operation in the West Midlands right now, and it's been very successful. And I wanted to give you an example of how one of their products and services is now being tested and out there on the rail system. And this is a new idea. It's a new product. It wasn't designed by a rail company. It was designed by somebody who thought we can make people safer, because they came up with a collision avoidance system that they thought, why can't we adapt that so that we can make sure people are COVID safe, 1 meter plus on site? And they did, and they adapted it, and it worked great. But actually they realized if we link it to the timetable, we can inform the driver who's in the train coming that this bit of track has been safeguarded for workers, and therefore they have to be aware that there may be workers on the track. And this obviously communicates to the workforce as well to let them know a train is attending, and therefore they can make sure that they're safe during. It means we don't have to close the track. It means we don't have to have any issues of costs or productivity delays or anything. And this is a great example of a product which has now been developed through the DigitalRail program that hasn't come from the rail sector, but is now being marketed as a safety feature to the rail sector. So we thought we'd give you that as a good example to kind of whet your appetite to say, if you've never worked in rail before, but you've got scalable IoT-enabled technologies and you'd like to offer those products or services into rail, you should come to us. We're your route to market. We're your innovation partner of choice. We'd like you to come and visit us online for now or in September when we open our hub. And we want to know what you've got, because we want the latest and greatest rail innovations around the world to come from the Sheffield City region. As Karen says, we're very proud to have that headquarters in Doncaster, and we're very happy to have the support from BCRRE in Birmingham, from our LEP board, and of course all the support we're getting from the Chambers, the Sheffield Innovation Programme, and all the colleagues from Hallam and Sheffield University. And we've met some great companies, and one of which you're about to see this morning, 3 Squared, who are a pioneer in rail. And we've also got the likes of the AMRC, who are obviously a pioneer in avoiding that valley of death. And we know there's some great companies and great innovations out there. We want to collaborate. We want to work together. We want to help you get the next led generation of products and services to rail. So this is the call to arms. So the DigitalRail program in the Sheffield City region is an ERDF funded program. It's a £2 million investment with support from Unipart Rail, the local enterprise partnership, and BCRRE at the University of Birmingham. They have their world-class Ukraine research centre in digital systems now being opened up. I was very fortunate to go there yesterday. It is a world-class facility, and you get the academics, the researchers, the laboratories, the program management capability. But in addition to that, you get the product management capability of Unipart Rail. We are their commercial partner. We are the people that can get products to market to bridge that gap between academia and industry. And we are delighted to have been given that opportunity. It's itemized at SMEs, typically in the Sheffield City region. So you're talking typically the ERDF funding for 250 employees or less, with a turnover of less than a €50 million equivalent. It's available in the Sheffield City region. The maps are all available online, or please come to us on our website, fill out our expression of interest form, and you can find out if you're eligible straight away. And what we'd like to do is offer you up to 50 hours of totally free, subject to state aid requirements, of rail industry innovation support, product management, engineering, hardware and software design, regulatory approvals, and a route to market. Now, of course, you might choose to use Unipart Rail as that. You might choose not to. We're agnostic. We don't care. All we want to demonstrate is our collaborative and innovative relationship with our business supply chain. And if you want to work with us, of course, you're more than welcome to after the program. But the truth is, this is to prove your prototypes, to prove your systems can work, to prove the technology is mature and can be adopted safely onto the rail network. And we're here as that kind of supply chain solutions expert to provide that long and short-term innovation support and research. It's possible Birmingham might invite you to do a further collaboration or a research program with them. And that's what this is all about. And obviously working with our colleagues elsewhere to make sure that our businesses in this region are supported with world-class product and service support, and ultimately to create inward investment and put this area on the map for rail innovation. So we're looking for a minimum of 71 companies over a 3-year program. Through this, this morning, there could be 20, 30 SMEs that just go, yeah, what have we got to lose? 40 hours of free university support for that with Unipart Rail. Where do I sign up? Well, now you know. You need to come to me. And of course, we want to create relationships, supply chain agreements. We want to create collaboration agreements. We want to try cutting edge technologies, not just transfer of mature technologies from elsewhere. We don't want to be playing catch up. We want to be leading other industries. So come to us. Let us know what you've got. We are endorsed by the Northern Powerhouse and the Sheffield City Region Local Enterprise Partnership. The Chambers of Commerce have been very supportive as well, and thank you to them. Some of them may be on the call this morning. And you're about to hear for some great companies who perhaps would like to express an interest in this. But at the end of the day, this is about us providing the framework for you, the facilities, the equipment, the resource, the support, product management, and the route to market. It is a big market. We do sell globally. This is quite a lucrative opportunity. But to start with, we've got to make sure your company are fit and proper and appropriate to market into the rail industry. And that's where we come in. That's what we're all about. And I just want to mention very quickly before we finish, we are now open, so please click on the links. Come to the DigitalRail website from the BCRRA. Come to Unipart Rail's website where you can express your interest. You can fill out a form. You can let us know where you are, what you do, what you'd like to do, why rail excites you, what's innovation got to do with it. And as long as it's digital and as long as it's cool, then we're up for it. I think, Karen, that's probably about right. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I think there is one question, but I'll hand back to I think, is Mark picking it up again?
Yeah, Karen, thank you. Yeah, Karen and Paul, wow, what an amazing start to the event. Paul, your enthusiasm for this project is boundless. It's quite an exciting looking innovation hub, and I think Ioetec will be in touch. But yeah, what a fantastic opportunity for SMEs to investigate and to trial things out. So yeah, totally support that. A question from Mark. A question from Martin. He's saying, is radar the only timetable based, or does it link to real-time information, accommodating obviously variations in the timetable versus the actual running of the trains?
It's a great question, and it's one I'm not able to answer because it's a case study from the West Midlands. It's not one of ours. It was just to kind of whet the appetite of what might be possible. Now, we're also, have to be mindful of any IP and other relationships. So we're not there to necessarily talk about what their product does. All we're allowed to do is necessarily, suggest that it's a great example of how an innovation might work. If that's a new idea that you've got to take that to the next level, and maybe DigitalRail could be the way that you can collaborate, and we can connect companies, we can connect people, we'll do it safely, we'll manage your IP, we'll protect all their interests. Unipart and Birmingham are working very closely together, but let's not speculate about what things can do right now. This is about what should we be doing, and if we can identify that opportunity, let's make it happen.
Yeah, most certainly. Let's see, how do you recommend tech companies start to learn about the needs of the rail industry? Will the centre help with their introduction as well as project work? And that kind of backs up my question I was going to ask you as well, was it's about challenges from small businesses. We want to be tackling real world challenges. So how will you be presenting the challenge holders to the potential innovators?
Karen, are you happy for me to take that one?
Yeah, feel free, Paul.
Please chip in if I've missed anything. So the rail industry has got its act together. The clients, Network Rail, is obviously who operate and maintain the rail assets, the infrastructure, the stations, depots, obviously infrastructure that goes into that, the electrification. But they are very clear on what their challenges are, and they're very honest about that, and they're all available on our website. And we've summarized those, and we've made them very easy to digest for SMEs who might be able to solve one or more of those challenges with their technology. So we're happy to communicate that. And obviously the Innovation and Technology Hub that we're offering this year we'll have a lot of that stuff available. So I'll be able to take you through it, demonstrate to you where these opportunities might be, because you're the innovators, you're the supply chain of the future. We want your ideas, we want to understand how it might be. But yes, we do have those challenges and opportunities. Obviously, our product managers within Unipart Rail are very close to their clients, and therefore they know on a kind of weekly basis what our clients are asking us for and what solutions they may be interested in. So there's that degree of kind of, that's quite a dynamic, moving environment where someone might have a problem that they need to fix in the next 6 to 8 months. Can we develop that? Can we get in early? Can we be ahead of the game? So there's definitely that element. There's also the rail technical strategy, which looks at the strategic themes for the future of the railway across sustainability and safety and digital connectivity, and not just from point to point, but from A to Z, the entire journey, from start to finish. How do we integrate technologies across cities, and how do we make people have an experience that they're prepared to pay for? We've got to get people off from working from home and back out onto the railway. So a lot of this stuff is available. It will be definitely available in our hub, and we'll definitely have that information to inspire the supply chain. And when we are open later this year, everyone on this call will get an invite to come and join us at some point and come and see us. Let's show you what we've got to offer, and then hopefully that will inspire you to want to work with us.
Yeah, most definitely, Paul. Very exciting, very inspiring. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I was just going to add one thing, really, that we've got something like 50 to 60 business development people working across the UK predominantly, but also in some of the international markets that I've talked about. And I think one of the things, we are very close to a lot of the customers, whether that's the train operators or whether that's the first or second tier contractors or whether that's Network Rail, which means we do get that market intel. In addition, what we do is survey our customers in terms of our performance to try and understand their priorities and needs. So all of that information we're more than happy to share through the hub network and through the relationships like that we are going to promote through the sort of DigitalRail and the UQuin stuff. So I think for me, anybody who's considering that they want to move into the rail sector and want some help to understand the needs of the sector, but also how you actually get your products into market, then absolutely come and speak to particularly Paul, because it is his day job. But if anybody wants to talk to me about anything, I'm more than happy to pick up calls as well. I know Kerry's put a question on around how will we sort of nurture and facilitate relationships. Again, I think we've got people with lots of experience of introducing new suppliers. My background's procurement, and we have got a track record of bringing new suppliers that didn't used to work in the rail sector, mainly around product supply, I have to say. And where we traditionally would have been all OEM based, we've been able to introduce new organizations that are able to bring competition, bring a different way, different specifications into the industry. So I think we've got that track record and that collaboration approach that we use with our customers, we transfer into where we deal with all stakeholders.
Great, yeah, and Leon from DigitalRail has also said that you're discussing the rail supply chain challenges opportunities on the 24th of June. Is that right? He's posting an Eventbrite
thank
link
you, Leon,
in
for
the
the
chat. So yeah, perfect. That's fantastic. What a great start to the event. Thank you both to Karen and Paul. Any more questions? I'm sure they'd be very happy to answer in the chat. But as you can see, you've got Paul's email up there and also the link to the innovation project. So thank you guys. Great start and really exciting projects. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to move on to one of the Sheffield-based companies, 3 Squared. We have got a video. So this is going to be our technical challenge for us today. Lucy Pryor, who's the Business Engagement Director, has recorded a video, and you'll understand why shortly. And Martin Gleadow, who's the Head of IT and Support at 3 Squared, will be answering any questions that are posed. So I'll hand you over to our moderators to get the video running.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lucy Pryor. I'm Business Engagement Director at 3 Squared, and I'm joined today in the background, who will be on the screen shortly, my colleague Martin, our Head of IT and Technical Innovation, who will be handling Q&A in my absence. As you can probably tell, I'm not here in real time. Right now, I'm on a train down towards London, hence submitting a pre-recorded session. Before we go on, I would like to thank Kerry of Connect and Create for inviting 3 Squared to take part in today's IoT in Rail session, and I'm really excited that that is also part of the Sheffield Digital Festival. The strapline of the festival, where creativity meets technical excellence, it's perfectly synergetic with 3 Squared, what we do and what we're all about. So, to tell you a little bit more about 3 Squared, I'll go through a little bit of our history, where we've come from and what we do, and then put that into the relevance of the role that 3 Squared plays within Internet of Things in rail. So our mission statement: we are here to help our clients in rail and rail construction to become safer, greener and more efficient through digitalisation, whether that is digitalising wieldy Excel processes, for example, or instigating a process that doesn't even exist yet, or whether it's a case of integrating with legacy data feeds. So, for example, alongside Network Rail, we feed into and out of a lot of their huge data sets, their long-term data sets, and we make that information relevant and pertinent and usable in a way that suits today's workforce in rail and answers a lot of the questions and the challenges that the current railway system has as well. We're a collaborative partner, we're not transactional, so we very much become an extension, if you like, of the client's organisation with which we're working, and we're able to do that through our expansive team of very creative digital experts. So, as well as myself in sales and business development and our ops and project management team, we have an extensive development, test, IT, business analysis, and a really hot UX UI team as well. And everyone works in a matrix style to ensure that the needs and the requirements of the client are carried all the way through, from the point of inquiry through to business as usual. As well as working directly with our clients, we are active participants in a whole load of trade associations, be they digital or rail. So, for example, we are active members of Sheffield Digital, but we also have a plethora of trade association memberships within rail as well. I'm going to focus on one in particular, the RSSB. This is the Railway Safety and Standards Board, and I'm taking that one especially because they're putting data and digitalisation, therefore IoT, at the heart of driving the rail industry further and helping that modernised railway play a much more proactive role in building back better. At the back end of last year, the RSSB launched the Rail Technical Strategy. Now, these are 5 pillars of focus, if you like, which are being used to help inform and shape and support the railway supply chain in its widest sense, to ensure that the rail sector is as efficient and proactive as possible. Those 5 pillars are that the railway be easy to use for all, and that is as easy to use for the freight passenger, i.e. the operators carrying freight commodities around the country, as it is for the travelling individual passenger. Low emissions and optimised train operations, of which IoT plays a crucial role, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Reliable and easy to maintain, and perhaps most importantly, that the railway be data driven. This is also a massive pillar within the Rail Supply Group, which is the arm's length body, the government arm's length body, which has been created to deliver the rail sector deal. We are active members of the RSSB. We are actively involved in the Rail Supply Group, and actually 3 Squared were quoted in the Rail Sector Deal document as well. So this really is important to us, not as a company alone, but in terms of our part in the overall jigsaw that is the railway and the digitalisation of railway. We are very strong in particular in integrating disparate systems, so we can work with legacy data feeds, and we can use those to create relevant, proactive information, which enables our clients to create actionable insight. So we're not simply collating data on their behalf, we're helping them make sense of that data, filter it, present it, and therefore use it, which is a perfectly cyclical example of how that data-driven railway is helping optimise train operations in the widest sense. So a little bit about the products and the way in which we are helping the railway achieve this data-led existence. We have developed a suite of products captured in the umbrella term RailSmart. So RailSmart comprises over a dozen different applications which can help clients look after their people through the form of a competency management system. We have EDS, the Employee Development System, which is a CMS which also takes in people's, it can capture non-technical skills, it can capture time with your manager. It's essentially a holistic competency management and training suite which enables clients, companies to be much more proactive in the way in which they manage their organisational competencies, but it ensures that individuals, employees are fully engaged because they are actively involved in the management of their competencies and their training as well. We excel in digitalising processes such as CMS and more generic forms. For example, we have a docs and a forms application which helps send people the right information at the right place at the right time in a much more simplistic and tailored form than, say, a whole host of text messages or emails. So we really help filter the information so that people can act upon the right information that is relevant to them. Linking specifically to today's theme of IoT in rail, we also have a group of products which come under the umbrella term of remote condition monitoring. So developed with and alongside a number of clients in the operation, building and maintaining of rail freight vehicles and wagons. And we're using IoT data to help manage the maintenance of these vehicles. So we're actively monitoring these vehicles, these machines in real time, and we're feeding that back to our clients to help them make sure that they are maximising the efficiency of those vehicles and that they're reducing the downtime of the vehicle so they're out on track as much as possible. A really important point to mention is the fact that every single freight train running now on the railway can be saving up to 76 HGVs off the road. So not only is remote condition monitoring and IoT important in the immediate sense in relation to that product, actually this is helping improve our life as neighbours to the railway, because it's helping cleanse the air, it's helping keep those carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide levels down by wit of the work in which we're supporting with our clients. As I said, we collaborate and we are constantly looking for ways to both expand our product range and deepen the way in which our product is used across industry. And to that extent, we are already talking to DigitalRail, from whom we've already heard, and we, Richard and myself at the AMRC, are in fairly regular communication. We have a lot of mutual clients, so it's really exciting as well to see that all these different projects that are going on aren't necessarily being done in isolation. We're looking proactive to see where we 3 Squared can help shape the railway industry even better, even further, and really help the industry get hold of the value that IoT presents to it. I've mentioned that we work with Network Rail. I've mentioned that we work with some freight customers. So our portfolio across rail and rail construction is huge, and there is so much synergy across these sectors and actually across adjacent sectors as well. I'm going to quote one of Richard's colleagues, Rob of the AMRC, who talks about horizontal innovation, and that is exactly where 3 Squared is positioned. We can help clients borrow technologies from outside of rail, and likewise we can help take rail technology and implement that into others, which is, for example, how we are involved in the HS2 supply chain. We are currently working within the phase 1 enabling works. And again, that was where a client came to us. They knew they had a problem, they didn't quite understand what it was they needed to do. So 3 Squared have worked with them, held their hand all the way through to develop an end-to-end materials management system, which will help realise HS2's own values of efficiency, good line time neighbours, and considerate construction, and so on and so forth. And it's really, really heartening to be a part of that. I'll go back to Network Rail. It has been a step change in 3 Squared's development as a company. Network Rail accounts for approximately 20% of the end user licenses of one of our products. So this is a huge opportunity for us as a small company to step it up another gear, to really start making even more waves in railway. We're already a significant player, but by taking on Network Rail and by being actively involved in the East West Digital Partnership, we're becoming increasingly relevant in that overall digitalisation of that data-led railway. But it's not just about the products and the clients, it's also about the team. And I'm really, really proud of the team here at 3 Squared. We do an awful lot of work on inclusivity. So for me, when we talk about equality, diversity and inclusivity, I want us to focus on the inclusivity element. 3 Squared work really, really hard to recruit diversely, to support its staff in-house, whether it's through disability confident accreditation, whether it's through mental health first aiders, or whether it's signing up to charters such as the Tech Talent Charter and the RIA and Women in Rail Diversity Charter. We support local initiatives such as Laptop for Kids, and we ensure, I mentioned we have an active placement and graduate scheme. We do what we can to recruit from as wide a demographic within the city as possible as well. We don't just go to 1 or 2 preferred schools, though we do have a very strong preferred employee status as well with Sheffield University out of the computing school. And this really does pay dividends. And I think this is one of the ways in which 3 Squared have become so successful, because not only have we got James and Tim at the forefront who've created this gem of a company that has proved that you don't have to be a traditional railway person to succeed in rail, but it's bringing more and more people into that railway supply chain, that railway skills chain, and we are actively helping drive the future. So that is pretty much it for me. I would like to thank you all for listening. IoT is of huge importance to the railway sector. I am so happy that 3 Squared is actively involved in IoT and all things digitalisation and digital rail. I will be watching for feedback on Twitter, so if you are an active tweeter yourself, please look me up either straight through at 3 Squared or my own handle, which is at Lucy Pryor. My colleague Martin, who will also be on screen with you in a moment, he is at Gleadow. Or you can simply look us up on YouTube and learn more about our products. Just YouTube RailSmart for more information. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event, and I look forward to hearing back from Martin afterwards. Cheers now. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lucy. If you can hear me on your train going down to London. I don't know if we've got Paul on the, sorry, Martin on the link.
Hopefully.
Yeah, great. Yeah, good to hear you, Martin. Thank you so much. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to Lucy's presentation there.
Yeah, I think one of the trends that I've spotted in the time that I've been working here that is really coming to the fore now is, as the rail industry has embraced digitization, because it was a very new thing and it was only happening in a smaller number of areas to begin with, we're really seeing the uptake accelerate on it, and it's snowballing and it's moving out of the areas that initially started to look at it into every area of rail. And increasingly we're seeing the desire to be more connected between disparate parts of the rail industry that previously would have been a bit more isolated. And I think that resonates really well with what Unipart was saying about the supply chain. So you can use the same monitoring sensors to trigger a maintenance event, but also to order the stock and to restock the orders. So you're looking at the big picture, and you're looking at the system as a whole rather than just little individual aspects of it.
Sure. And what give us a little bit of an insight of what you're looking at in the future, going forward, Martin. What kind of projects you're looking at?
Yeah, so Lucy mentioned remote condition monitoring as one of the very Internet of Things areas that we're working on. So a little bit of background on that project is obviously there's a whole raft of freight locomotives out on the UK network, and they're all various ages and they've got various degrees of onboard equipment. But it's a condition of running on the UK rail network that you have to have on-train data recording equipment that can capture all sorts of information in case there's an incident, for example, and they also use it for reviewing driving styles and for maintenance information. And historically, that has been something that's gathered in a black box and it's downloaded by a serial cable whenever the vehicle comes in for maintenance. And through working with other parts of the supply chain and other parts of the rail industry, we've got a system that can take that data and it can look at a number of different sensors together to analyze both driver and vehicle behavior. So we're using that for things that can help identify areas of driving standards that might need to be updated to improve efficiency, both in terms of fuel consumption, but also in terms of timetable performance. We've mentioned the big impact of delay on the rail network earlier, but also for that predictive failure kind of side of things. So if you've got a number of conditions which, when they're true, mean that you've got an increased chance of failure, we can move things from being the reactive maintenance to the proactive maintenance, and that really reduces delay impact, which reduces costs, but it also improves fleet performance. So it means that rolling stock can be out earning revenue on the network more of the time, which means that it's taking lorries off the road ideally. So again, as part of that big picture, it's joining up the decarbonisation, it's joining up the mode shift for freight, and with our passenger operators, obviously they've got a number of very new challenges at the moment in the world of recovering COVID-19. So we're looking at how some of the work that we've done in the past can be transferred into those areas.
Sure. And so just, I don't know if this one's for Lucy, but I'm sure you better be able to pick up on it. Are there particular challenges in this specific rail sector that you have to overcome versus any other verticals as an SME supplier?
Yeah, so obviously there are other sectors where this equally applies as well, but rail is a very highly regulated industry. There's an awful lot of things that just have to be done in a certain way in order to operate the railway safely, and that exists for good reason. But if you are coming into rail with a background in a less restrictive industry, the barriers to adoption, again, the kind of stuff that DigitalRail was talking about, going through approvals process, can be quite daunting. There are industry bodies out there who are available to help. So the RSSB is obviously a key player in railway standards, and they put a lot of work into working with the supply chain to enable routes to market. And you've got people like UKRI as well, who are looking at innovation and grant funding that can help people into that sector. So understanding the regulation and then working with it is one of the challenges. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, probably I'd have said resistance to change is probably a bit of a challenge, because certain areas of the rail industry have been very successful for a long time doing things the way they've done them. And a challenge for the digital industry has been convincing them that it's not a gimmick, that it is something that can really benefit them. And it's not trying to do them out of a job, it's trying to make it easier for them to do their job and to really deliver the value that human intelligence can, on top of some of the legwork digital can take out in the background. And on a similar note to that, again, rail is quite heavily unionised, so it's important to understand the concerns of trade unions and the people they represent, and how you can work with them so that you've got them on board before you get to the point of trying to go to market and then getting the resistance.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, a lot of it is very similar to a lot of the traditional heavy industries have the same sort of problems. So you said 5 years ago, if I'd asked you that, if I asked you that now, would you say the same thing, or is it getting easier?
It's getting easier. Digital rail is understood, it's being embraced, and you're seeing certainly from the top down in all the organisations, they're on board with it. There's huge initiatives behind it. There still will be pockets of resistance, but there are pockets of resistance where they just need a bit of time and help to understand it and know what you're trying to achieve. And very quickly, people can see the benefit of being able to eliminate an arduous task and allow them to focus more on what they're actually trying to achieve.
Great. Martin, thank you so much for your time today. We'll thank Lucy as well later, but 3 Squared is definitely a company to watch for the future. They're going on to bigger and greater things. So good luck with your future developments, Martin.
Cheers, and I'm looking forward to the rest of today. Great,
thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Richard Gardiner. Richard is based at the AMRC, Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre. He's the Deputy Head of Automotive and Transport Strategy and is the Sector Lead for Rail. I've got his slides, so have I got you online, Richard?
I'm here. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I hand you over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, just afternoon. First of all, thanks very much for the opportunity to come here and tell you a little bit about what we've been up to at the AMRC. I always like that as a first slide, but who doesn't like to see a picture of a big robot? But my name's Richard Gardiner. I'm the Sector Lead for Rail here at the AMRC. And today, I'd like to talk to you about three things, really. One, a bit of an introduction to AMRC, and then a specific focus on AMRC rail, the kind of areas that we're working on and the areas where we can benefit the rail industry. And then I'd like to talk about the interesting stuff, a couple of case studies of some of the projects that we're working on, and what we're looking to do in the future. Before we get into it, a little bit of my background. I've worked in the rail industry for more years than I care to remember, about 18 years or so. Come from a consultancy background, and I've been with the AMRC for coming on to 3 years now. So, what is the AMRC? Some of you will be aware of us, some of you may not. So I'll give you a very potted history of what we are. So we've been going for 20 years now. Originally set up as a collaboration between Boeing and the University of Sheffield. And that collaboration came out of a frustration with Boeing that there was an awful lot of good research being made in manufacturing, but it wasn't actually getting through to industry. And so they were lacking this bridge between academia and industrialization. And so the AMRC was set up to help manufacturers become more competitive by de-risking the introduction of these techniques, new technologies and processes. And we specialize in carrying out world-leading research in machining, manufacturing materials. What started off being predominantly around machining, cutting metal, the technical scope and capability of AMRC has just blossomed over the last 20 years. So from just machining now, we've got world-class expertise in automation, robotics, digital assembly, casting additive, and it was a huge range of things. And it was this capability that actually drew me to being at AMRC. I couldn't believe the technology that we had, and I couldn't believe how underrepresented it was in rail. And so it just seemed a perfect opportunity to come in and try and promote some of these technologies and help the rail industry supply chain. So the AMRC today, we're located just near Junction 33 off the M1 and on the site of what was the Orgreave Colliery. So we've gone from a colliery now to employing over 500 researchers, technicians and support staff. We have over 110 member companies, and we've brought over £200 million of investment to what was a former coalfield. We're part of the Rolls-Royce and Boeing research networks and founding member of the UK's high-value manufacturing catapult. And as I say, the reason I'm here, we identify these directly transferable skills to rail asset manufacture, operation and maintenance. So a lot of my talk today is going to focus around what we call IMG, which is the Integrated Manufacturing Group, and that's basically the home for all things digital. And if I had to sum up what that section, that group is all about in one slide, this would be it. Gartner's hype cycle, and this one for emerging manufacturing technologies. So the aim of AMRC is to introduce these technologies and get them making productive gains as quickly as possible. And so the grey trace is the traditional curve, should we say, of expectations versus time for new technologies coming through. If you wind it back 5 or 10 years, we thought we'd all be 3D printing our Sunday roasts. The reality is that, it's not quite like that. But what AMRC try to do is sort of temper these over expectations. But then I think the third column here, the trough of disillusionment. Who hasn't been in the trough of disillusionment at some point in their life? But what we try to do is keep you out of the trough and get these technologies into place, making productive real-world gains for your businesses as soon as possible. So, as I say, I've been in the role for about 3 years now. And then I'd say in a concerted effort over the last 2, really starting to push what we do in rail. And the huge breadth of AMRC's capabilities, my biggest challenge was, how do we distill that down into some key strategic themes where we can help industry? Because that's one of the big things. We're here to help industry. We're not a manufacturer. We don't produce products. We work with suppliers to develop their capabilities and products. So the first big area is maintenance, repair and overhaul, de-risking the adoption of new manufacturing or digital technologies and process developments involved in some maintenance depots and overhaul facilities. Second key area, and you know, it's such a hot topic at the moment, and top of the priority list for other presentations today is like RCM, remote condition monitoring. We've got world-leading expertise in RCM from what we do with our machine tools, our cutting tool monitoring, and our asset inspection skills. So this is directly transferable across to rail, and I'll talk about some of the examples of this in some of the case studies that I'll touch on shortly. Manufacturing optimization, our bread and butter, making things cheaper, better, faster, to higher qualities. But with some specific areas of interest for rail, so obsolescence mitigation, so reverse engineering. We see a lot of issues with sort of legacy, particularly legacy vehicles, out of course incidents, meaning damage to vehicles. Oh, we need another one of these. Oh, that's not been made for 20 years. How can we go about helping ensure a resilient supply chain? So we have our casting teams, we've got world-class expertise in low batch bespoke castings, but at a reasonable cost. So we have things like 3D printers that print in molds from sand, or machine parts from polystyrene and ceramic dip them to make molds. So a huge capability there. And then the hot topic of the moment, decarbonisation. So we have skills across the board here, from lightweighting and optimization of equipment, whether that through composite manufacture or additive, through to manufacturing support for alternative traction. So I must add that we're not just local to Sheffield. We have now a presence out in AMRC Northwest up near Preston, and where we have a very shiny new building that should be opening its doors at the end of September. And that'll be focusing on novel battery pack manufacturer, and AMRC Wales Broughton, which is having a hydrogen fuel cell manufacturing capability. So some new real topical manufacturing capability that we can support the rail industry supply chain with. And then finally, infrastructure, construction and maintenance, where we're developing automation, inspection and process optimization, using a lot of the inspection and automation skills that we have through manufacturing. Right, I said I'd talk about a couple of case studies. So the objectives of some of these case studies that I'm going to talk about is we're here to sort of inspire industry. As I say, we're not a manufacturer. So a lot of the objectives of these case studies are to show valuable use cases of Industry 4 technologies, giving visitors to AMRC the opportunity to experience some of these technologies, and working with third-party companies to sort of support the development of their own products and services, and also to continue to innovate and develop our own capabilities that we can feed back through to the supply chain. So one of the first projects that we've got, this is one that's underway at the moment, and this is a wonderful project where we're working with Pawley, High Speed 1, Network Rail High Speed, and Athernet. to develop a 5G integrated railway AR digital twin. I think that project title wins the best buzzword bingo. But we're working with High Speed One to develop some remote condition monitoring capability down at St Pancras, where we'll be instrumenting some of their existing equipment. So I think we have a lift, an escalator, and a points machine, which is what the graphic shows here. And we'll allow HS1 to get real-time information from these assets, so like temperatures, current feeds, whatever. And that data can be used for real-time feedback, but also identify potential failures and allow real-time data visualization. In this case, you can see the artisan on the track down there conducting maintenance activities. So the use of a headset, you can get real information about the asset in front of him. He's got all the information to hand and all the tutorials or history or information there to help him do his job better. And the great bonus of this is, I think as others have touched on, as you start to acquire this data, you realize there's much more that you can do with it. And so you've gone from what's the current situation to then understanding the behavior and the degradation. So the idea being in the future, it can be used for prognostics and analytics, so you can monitor and prevent future failures. So that's one of our projects out in the wild. I'd like to conclude my presentation now talking about something a bit nearer to home. And this is a project focus on the maintenance 4.0 cell that we have created in AMRC's Factory 2050. So the objective of this, it's funded by the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. And what we wanted to do was a project that could really inspire visitors to think about how these smart technologies can address challenges to their business. We wanted to show a range of technologies that would be relevant to customers or visitors, no matter where they were on their digital journey. And we wanted to show off. We wanted to show demonstrate our capability. This horizontal innovation, so expertise that we've managed that could be in an aerospace or a defence capability, and we want to show it off in how it could be applied to rail asset maintenance. And one of my real key pieces that I want to really push and research is this: how can we actually reduce barriers to digitalisation? How we can realise that, you know, these digital technologies can start making benefits for your business today. You don't have to necessarily invest in huge enterprise software packages. And we wanted a platform that could be a future development to assist partners in developing systems, de-risking the adoption of new tools and processes. That's the big thing that I'll reiterate it again, we're not a manufacturer, we're here to work with people. So if we can use this as a resource, then, you know, it's for the benefit of all. So we decided that we'd create an example work instruction on a relatively simple asset that we can demonstrate on a tour and show people. So here's a snapshot of the Industry 4 cell. So early last year, I went on the scrounge to industry, and Ioetec very generously gave us a freight bogie that we could use, and Pandrol gave us a piece of slab track, and we were therefore in possession of Sheffield's newest, smallest railway. So we had to have the freight bogie parked in the cell, and that's going to be the carrier for a lot of the technologies that well, all the technologies that are demonstrated in this cell. And then working with our other suppliers, PTC and GPSL, the AMRC partners, to develop the program. So we're taking this work instruction, and the demonstrator cell works around 5 key themes. At the heart of it, we have a digital dashboard that's pulling all these information from the various aspects together. The idea being that we can show innovation at each stage of the work instruction cycle. So we started with the data. What can we do there? You know, it's how do we actually assist the worker, the digital assistants, how we can help them to do the job better or train them or do it safely. And then I think a technology that I think has got huge untapped potential in maintenance is the use of optical record.
Oh, I think we've lost. Have we lost somebody, or have I lost myself?
Mark, I think Richard's volume's gone. So I don't. He's actually fairly close to time. Just to flag that up.
Yeah.
So if we can get him back in a minute or so, we'll carry on for a bit. But yeah, we need to move on to Daniel fairly soon.
Yeah. If we, we'll give him a couple of moments, see if he can re-establish connectivity. Looking, he's got 13 slides, so he's still got a sort of a little way to go yet in his. Maybe if I know that Daniel's here, Richard, are you back?
Yeah, I have no idea what happened there.
Okay, I'll hand you over to you then.
I thought that was a brutal vote of no confidence.
We couldn't have an event without one snag. So well done. I was feeling a little bit worried there for a moment. We weren't going to get one.
Richard, it's Kerry here. There's not a lot of time left for you. If you could wrap up maybe in like 2 to 3 minutes, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So I'll crack on. So the first thing, data management. So we've taken what was a normal PDF document and then we've broken it down into using a standard S1000D. It's a standard that's used in aerospace for technical publications. The reason we've chosen this is because it's very prescriptive, and what it does is it unlocks a lot of complementary technologies. So we can demonstrate this, what we call a digital thread, that'll show the core information that could be displayed or published to PDF or print, but in our case, we're going to publish through to augmented reality. So we've created an AR instruction procedure that pulls data straight from a database. So one of the big barriers to entry for enterprise users is the management of data, the revision control. And what we've developed here is a tool that for very little extra effort, well, no additional text entry, that core information is pulled through, published to an AR app. And we've developed some in-house tools to further enhance the capability of it. The application, whenever you use it, it checks you've got the right revision and provides many more benefits to the shop floor artisan. The next bit, inspection and verification. So we're using an optical camera, but using very accessible software. So you can train the optical system to monitor a state. So in this case, we've got the brake indicator saying on or off, and that sends a pulse to signal to the projector, which would then indicate through the use of a coloured light whether it's on or off. Very simple, highly adaptable, very low barrier to entry for an autonomous visual inspection system, really flexible. And the final area is the asset tracking. So using RFID tags to develop a system for this passive tracking of unmanaged stores. So who took what was it, when did they do it? I invite all of you to come to 2050, now we're allowed, and we can actually see what's happening. So all this information is pulled together into a live digital dashboard where all the information from the cell is represented. And this is where you get those extra benefits of once you start tracking things, you can start to do more. And then once you start combining things, you can start to do more. For example, the optical system could be interfaced with the work instructions. So you can't go beyond a certain step if that safety condition hasn't met, all passively with little extra work. So I think I've set a new lap record for presenting that demo. I invite you all to come in and have a look. And I'd just like to put up a little teaser for what we're doing this coming year. So RCM, key topic, but where we're trying to look is like the next generation technologies for line-side vehicle inspections. So looking at new sensing, vision, thermal, acoustics, and the AI analysis and trends and prognostics around that. So we're being supported by East Midlands Railway, who are helping this project and just working to develop and raise the profile of these kind of assets and I'm talking to some of the companies that are presenting here. I'm sure where we can get to could be a really great hub for future development and the implementation of Industry 4 technologies. So, bit of a whistle stop. I invite anyone to get in touch with me. And as of yesterday, we're now allowed to have people in to see tours. So, I invite you in to come and see this up. So, once again, thanks for the opportunity and apologies for my terrible internet.
Don't worry, Richard. Thank you so much for that. It's amazing how many colloquialisms are related to rail in our language. So your whistle-top store. Thank you for that. I hope it wasn't too fast for everybody. But do take Richard up on his invitation to visit the Factory 2050. Take a look at that module. It's a great site and totally recommend it. Ioetec have been there several occasions and it's definitely a grown-ups play area, but a fantastic facility and another great example of a team of people trying to do their utmost to support and develop businesses not only in the area but for a national effort. Thank you so much, Richard. Please pop any questions there in the chat, and I'll ask Richard if you wouldn't mind just to keep us on track to answer any questions that come up in the chat, please. Thank you, Richard. Okay, I'm going to try and not say without further ado because I think we've probably heard that many times. I like. Next slide, please. I'll be handing you straight over to Daniel. I hope I pronounced this right. Is it Jaeggi?
Yeah, Jaeggi, I get all sorts, Mark, but yes, Jaeggi is fine.
Jaeggi. Daniel, who's the head of business development at RazorSecure, a great team of people that we've been associated with from our days at GCHQ. I'll hand you straight over to Daniel, who's going to talk about the CyberGap securing digital trains. Over to you, Daniel.
Brilliant, Mark. Thanks very much, and thanks very much for the opportunity to present. So yes. My name's Daniel Jaeggi. I'm Head of Business Development at RazorSecure. The topic of today, we're going to talk about trains and cybersecurity and the cyber gap that exists actually. Essentially, why are there cyber issues? What's the industry doing about it? What can you do about it? And look at some of the points around that. Just a quick background on me. I'm an aerospace engineer by training, but I moved across to rail about 5 years ago. So I've been sort of involved in rail and security. Actually predates that because aerospace and defence has obviously quite high security requirements, and coming to the rail industry, I observed that wasn't quite what I expected. So that led to a little bit of work in this area, and I joined RazorSecure last year as their business development lead. So here we go. So RazorSecure as a company, we're specialists in rail cybersecurity. Actually, that's all we do. 100% rail and 100% cybersecurity. We've been going about 6 years. We were founded from, the founders came from the gaming industry actually, so securing gaming servers against being hacked. But that had interesting technology that found application in transportation in general, and we focused on rail as a particularly interesting area. And now as a company, we're 26 strong. We're based in Basingstoke. As Mark said, he went through a GCHQ accelerator program as well. And yeah, we're currently on about 1,600 vehicles globally. And in the UK, it will be 6 operators by the year end, including some you may recognise. Northern Rail and Northern Rail serves Sheffield, absolutely. West Midlands doesn't quite come so far across, but we are present on those fleets and providing sort of monitoring and protection on those fleets. We have to work very closely with the industry, so some train builders, some system vendors, and it's a broad engagement. But yeah, that's our position, and that's where we are today. So what's the issue with cybersecurity on rail? Sorry, I can advance the next slide. There we go. Because we hear about IT hacks, left, right, and centre, viruses, Trojans, big things like TalkTalk, banks coming down. You don't really, and you hear about OT stuff, and obviously recently, pipelines, water treatment works, various things like that. You don't really hear so much about rail, and that's not to say it doesn't exist. It does. And it's not to say the risks aren't real. They are. And I just want to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of some interesting events that have happened in recent years before looking a bit more specifically at what's going on. So the first one to highlight, San Francisco Muni. It's the light rail and transportation system in San Francisco. San Francisco Muni rocked by ransomware attack, November 2016. What actually happened here was they took down the ticketing system, and essentially that led to free travel for a day or a weekend, across the network. The ticketing system was compromised. The trams don't stop running. People go free. That represents a direct hit to the revenues of the public transport system. There's been quite a few of those as well, particularly in North America, but ticketing systems are an easy way for people to cause a little bit of damage to a transport system. Oops, I'm pressing arrows, need to click. There we go. Deutsche Bahn, they got compromised in May 2017, and the whole information board system got a ransomware attack. Again, this was shared widely on Twitter and some amusement. But it's actually quite a significant event. This is a nation's information system for their whole train network has been compromised and gone down, and means that that system is unavailable. All the information screens were gone. That's a pretty major event. Stadler is a major train manufacturer. They got hacked last summer. And interesting, that wasn't a train that got hacked, although they have trains obviously, but their central IT was hacked. But as a result, some of the data services they're using, because what we're going to talk about in a minute is the way in which system vendors, manufacturers are using data and connectivity to enhance their operations. But suddenly, if you have a connection between the train and the data center, well, where's your system boundary? Actually, there's no real break in the network. Although some of that network connectivity is happening over, the mobile networks, the LTE networks, or GSM. There's in effect a route across the whole network. So you can't consider the trains as being different from the core IT networking within a certain organization. Washington Post, they were procuring, or they are procuring, new metro trains for the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA. And this appeared in the Washington Post, so a major North American newspaper. Could a Chinese-made metro car spy on us? Many experts say yes. Interesting, and we would agree. And there's no doubt a bit of politicking here as well. But the point is that there are systems on trains. They are vulnerable. They are exploitable by different threat actors, nation states, terrorists, people up for a laugh, people trying to disrupt things. That represents a real risk, and it is being recognised. Trains, despite being the rail industry generally is conservative and slow moving, but technology is kind of running very, very fast up against it. A bit closer to home, this is the last sort of example, and usefully this came up, I don't know if you see the date on the slide here, this is 10th of May 21. And this isn't a cyber hack necessarily, but G Loves Trains is a Twitter rail enthusiast, and she posted this picture. Just been surprised by driver Ethel, who very kindly put my name on the screens throughout Southwest Rail 455728. How freaking awesome. Yes, amusing, yes, funny, yes, but it begs the question, if someone has access to that system and starts to put more spicy messages, let's say, on that screen, then well, what could happen? COVID positive passengers on car A, bomb alert, disembark now. There's a whole range of consequences. You control the information flow to passengers, and suddenly you get human behavior leading to such events that you may not expect, and actually real safety consequences from this as well. Especially, the passenger address system, they may be digitized, they may be compromised as well. If someone has a message and backs it up with a vocal announcement, a voice announcement, you're going to start to change people's behavior in reaction to that, and that can have some severe impacts. So this isn't hypothetical. And although, yes, it's amusing, and there's a few on these on Twitter. If you go looking for these, there's another one where some amusing messages were put on the PI system by passengers or staff, and it's a compromisable system that can have real world impacts. What's the core point, issue, problem here? Fundamentally, rolling stock is digital. The train on the left is maybe 15 years old, I think, 12, 15 years old. And And that's when it was built, had a low degree of connectivity, but they had upgrades and digital systems are brought on board, and connectivity has been added because connectivity is good for business. We'll talk about it in a minute. So irrespective of the vintage of the train, when upgrades happen, because they happen regularly, digitization comes along, connectivity comes along. On the right is, this is a spanking new train with West Midland trains. That's digital from the factory gate. I just saw one with the Q&A question. Yes, CAN bus, historically, yes, serial buses were used quite widely. Modern trains now are IP based entirely. So sometimes you just still get serial systems, but fundamentally they're using Ethernet backbones and are IP based. So yes, historically, no, and not going forward in the future so much. But these are fully digital. Everything is connected somehow. And what's the problem? Well, if you add connectivity and digitization, you add vulnerability. And this picture here is a pretty standard network design. Actually, it has different zones. Has a passenger network. The comfort network sometimes described. You get Wi-Fi. You get entertainment systems to watch movies. You get payment systems, maybe access points, networking equipment associated with that, for the benefit of the passenger. And that's great for the passenger. We've come to expect Wi-Fi on board now. It's a key part of the rail experience proposition. You have a whole bunch of operational systems, things like, apologies for the acronyms, by the way, because it doesn't fit on otherwise, but video surveillance systems, advisory systems, heating systems, toilets, seat reservations, passenger information systems we just talked about. They're all connected. They all start talking to each other. You get passenger counting systems, and now with COVID, feeding information from that passenger counting system to other systems that can then present it to the passengers and give you advice on where to stand on the platform or which train to get. There's connectivity being brought to bear on this, both within the train itself and off board. And finally, you've got say the TCMS is the train control management system. You've got the actual safety systems and the control systems being networked, because that carries some benefits, and event recorders, information about the and going forward as well. Actually, although there's a whole range of trackside infrastructure, we're present on rolling stock, less on the infrastructure side. But next generation of signaling systems will include connectivity, because then you have the ability of a train to report its own position and to make movement authority requests back to the signaling network. And that includes a GSMR link. So you suddenly have connectivity between what was historically a very separate system to the onboard systems as well. In essence, this is all being linked up, and it's all communicating back to the outside world, and therein lies vulnerabilities from a cyber perspective. What's driving that? Well, yes, passenger experience. We all want connectivity. We all want to increase, people should travel more by rail. That's good for the country. It's good for the environment. So services and solutions that rely on connectivity and digital systems are important for the passenger experience. Operations increasingly using data, predictive maintenance, remote condition monitoring, operational data, whether freight or passenger actually as well. Having real-time information for staff and crew is really important. And doing data analytics, data-rich applications, and the ability to leverage those for optimization of services and operations. That's really important as well, and that's increasingly happening remotely. But safety as well. Real-time monitoring is key to safety. You think about video surveillance, maybe. Forward-facing CCTV is something that is very safety critical in terms of the data coming off it. ETCS is the next generation signaling systems, and doing incident response and forensic analysis. Historically, people have gone on to have to pull hard drives off a train or a vehicle. If you have connectivity, you can use that more dynamically. So that's also a driver here. Right. And when we talk about safety impacts and cyber impacts, we talk about CIA. Again, some of you may know this, but we're typically talking about confidentiality of data, integrity of systems as it operates as expected, or availability as the system is operating as you normally. All three of these have business impacts in their own right, but all three may lead to safety impacts as well, and it's worth being mindful of that. Quick cyber truths, and then we'll go on to what we can do about it. So there's some common misconceptions about cybersecurity, and the first one really is that people think there should be a stamp and goes, right, my system's secure, it's locked. But the reality is that security is a process, it's not a state. You can't assume something is fixed at a point in time. Things change, the world moves on, systems change over time. Second, you can't secure what you don't know about. Again, if you don't know which doors are open, you can't watch it. And there is an issue, and it's not just in rail actually, but this is in IoT and broader industrial systems where things are connected to the network and not necessarily following a process, or not well monitored or managed. Or indeed, do you know what firmware versions are on there? And finally, you may have some assurance that you're secure today. You've done a test, you've locked your system down, but how do you know that's true tomorrow? How do you watch things in the future? And really, cybersecurity is easy. People hear the word cybersecurity, sometimes their eyes glaze over and go, oh, computers, software, hackers, all this thing, and go, that's too complex for me. But fundamentally, it's about good risk management and the ability to assure and monitor what you're doing. And the witness marks on this fastener are a case in point. You do the design properly, you make sure it's installed properly, but then you have the ability and the mechanisms by which to monitor what you're doing on an ongoing basis. And the safety of the system that fastener is involved in is exactly the same as security of a system that's digital. And you need monitoring capability to make that happen. And this is the basis of cybersecurity framework. So a typical framework says if it's a process and not a state, you need the ability to identify risks, protect systems, detect abnormal activities or conditions, respond to events and recover from them. And that feeds a cycle of identification, protection, detection, response, and recovery. And generally, we think, and it's fair to say, and this applies across other industries as well, risk identification is Rail's strong point because it comes from a safety world. So that's not bad. Protection, well, digitization's happened pretty fast actually, and maybe that's not as good as it can be. But detection generally isn't there, and if you haven't got the data to detect events, you can't respond to events or recover adequately as well. So there is a gap in the industry, and this is what we're trying to fill as RazorSecure, by providing solutions for particularly the protection and detection of cyber events and the response as well, to fill the holes in some of the capabilities here. So just a quick overview of what things to think about. This is a whistle-stop tour. We would, if there's any interest, and we're very happy to follow up and talk further on here as well. But being mindful of cyber risk, what can you do about it? Well, think about it in terms of asset management. Can you identify your assets? Do you know the configuration? Do you know what happens when those go obsolete? You buy a system, it trains in service for 30 years maybe. The vendor goes out of business. What can you do about the software updates or the management of that? Do you have adequate protection for your digital systems? How do you do risk assessments? Do you do testing? Are you following frameworks and standards? Remember, it's a process, not a state. You don't accept it's okay, it's secure, which is what suppliers tend to do to palm people off. Think about process. Can you monitor your systems? You don't know what's happening, then you can't secure it. And do you have processes in place to respond and recover? How do you handle things? How do you know when you're back to normal? And finally, are you aware of the risks of managing operating digital assets? A train isn't metal, it's metal and computer chips and software and other things as well, of course. But managing the supply chain, change management is really, really important. And also think about insurance. There's a trend in the insurance industry that cyber events are now not being covered because people are aware that cyber events can lead to actual physical impacts, and those risks may not be covered. That's pretty much all I want to say. I just want to highlight what we do. We're basically about enhancing railway cybersecurity. We protect networks, we monitor systems, we do some services, risk analysis, fleet monitoring. We provide products, software particularly, for network protection and segregation, anomaly detection on key systems, and things like secure access and event logging on systems. We engage widely with the industry. We're very keen also for broader engagement as well. It's not just about products for us. We're part of an ecosystem. We're part of a developing trend to enhance secure rail. We welcome comments, questions, contact further down the line. And thanks again, Mark and Kerry, for the opportunity to present here.
Daniel, that's fantastic. I think we've had a great range of overlapping presentations today. Daniel is a great finisher on us. I've got a quick question from Professor John Clark at US, and I know it's something that's core to his research is how well developed is forensics for rail? So looking at, say, a rail incident and be able to backtrack over that and the audit of what's happened. I hope I've interpreted that right, John.
Yeah, from a safety point of view, well and strong, because that's obviously the essence of understanding preventing future safety incidents. I think what becomes interesting is that the overlap between security and safety is not well developed. So where there are security incidents that haven't yet caused safety incidents and thus don't trigger that, then the ability to pull data off to look at the detailed breakdown of what's actually gone on and to fix those issues is a gap as well currently. It does exist to some extent, but nowhere near as developed as the safety side.
Yeah, sure. And what do you see on the horizon, Daniel, as far as what are you tackling? What's your RazorSecure's tackling, and they can see that's coming towards us in the rail industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think industry awareness has jumped actually, and it's partly driven by regulation. So there's been things like the NIST directive from the EU, which is translated into UK law, which then applies, to operators. There are new standards coming out, and these are all eliciting a response in terms of risk assessments, change management, requirements on new builds, requirements on upgrades, and so we are seeing a rise in awareness, and that's translated to actual budgets, requirements, projects, deployments, and that's very positive to the industry as a whole. It's kind of shifting the needle a little bit in terms of people. Historically, it's been slow to adapt. Digitization's come fast. It's been conservative industry. People are now waking up to these risks that do exist, and that there are actually solutions that can and ways of managing it that make sense in a cyber context.
Yeah, sure. And I know RazorSecure are doing their best to facilitate that. I think your next slide must have your contact details, I'm hoping.
It doesn't, but you can find me on LinkedIn on the website indeed. So do look us up.
We'll help out as well. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you had a busy morning, so appreciate you making the time in your calendar to join us and to present RazorSecure.
Thanks again, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much. I think we're just running a little bit behind, so I'm going to go straight on to our updates and shout outs. If I hand you over to I'll quickly go through the digital events. As you can see, for markers in your calendar for May, the Sheffield digital activities that are occurring through this remainder of this month, and particularly obviously this week with the festival that's going on in Sheffield. So just make a note of those and pop those in your diary. 3 more days of IoT in rail. See this event, IoT and Big Data in Rail.com, says Kerry in the chat there. If I can hand over to Elizabeth to tell us a little bit about the pitching events that are going on at the moment, and we're sitting in on as well. I've sat in on one of them already. Are you there, Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm sorry about that. I'm just trying to change through the slides at the same time. So yeah, we'll get that to come up. So yeah, we've got a few events coming up. 2 actually tomorrow. So we've got an event, Learning from Failure and Innovation, coming up at 12:30, and then we have the 4th of our series of dissemination events, which is focusing on manufacturing, which you can both sign up to the link there, which is on EventsForce. And then finally as well, we have our pitching conference coming up on the 16th of June, and registrations for that will open soon as well.
That's great, thank you, Elizabeth. And Kerry, a little word about the student placements, the second round for this year.
Thanks very much, Mark. And oh, it'd be good if you could all see me. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so thanks very much. Yeah, I've really enjoyed all the talks and really appreciative of all the time our speakers have put into preparing their talks and joining us today. So yeah, just wanted to give a quick update on some IoT activities that are happening in the region. The first one is some student placements that we're going to run a program for 4 weeks, building on one that we ran last summer. And we're going to have 6 students working in the Maker Lab at Beardsley Digital Media Centre. And the idea is that SMEs who are interested in seeing how IoT could be applicable to their businesses can come along and get engaged and potentially have a student embedded in their organisation. And then that will finish in sort of early July. And then we're looking at developing a longer programme for 2 years to actually support businesses in the region to start making use of IoT. And I think actually what's exciting about this, it could feed in really nicely to the DigiRail. So it might be worth having some conversations with Karen and Paul about it. And this is through a project I'm working on called Team South Yorkshire, and it's all about kind of accelerating the tech startup ecosystem in the region, and helping businesses to develop as startups and then to scale. And we're running a whole host of programs, and one of them is around IoT, and again it's going to be likely based out of Beardsley, and we've already got a lot of interest from IoT network providers and other businesses to get involved and kind of really starting to develop the community further. And just one last shout out, as part of my team project, we've got a startup showcase tomorrow. And it's tech startups from around the region and a whole different sectors and different types of stage they're at. But for example, in rail, what might be of interest is a company who work in computational fluid dynamics called Twin Dynamics, and they can look at all sorts of different liquid and air flows using a digital twin technology that makes use of IoT sensing. And another one is called Forjaw Manufacturing Analytics, which has currently a device that hooks up to CNC machines, but potentially could be applied to other areas in rail. So I'd really advise everyone to come along. That's at 12 o'clock tomorrow, also available through the Sheffield Digital Festival site. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Yeah, might want to let that person out the cupboard. You've locked them in, Kerry.
Oh no, that we're getting the carpet done, Mark.
Thanks, Kerry. Yeah, as you can see in the chat there's a couple that Stephen's put in as far as the pitching events and the student applications. I'd just like to wrap this session up by thanking all of our presenters, Karen and Paul from Unipart, Lucy and Martin from 3 Squared, Richard at the AMRC and Daniel at RazorSecure. Thank you all so much for some really interesting topics and presentations today. And naturally, of course, thank you to all of you who've sat in and listened today. I hope you've managed to get something from it. I do hope, as I say, the intention of this meetup is to join people together. So I hope you found some useful contacts that you can reach out to. And I know certainly all of our presenters will be very open to accommodate any conversations going forward. So thanks once again for joining us. We're bang on time. Appreciate your time that you've made in your diaries today. And hopefully, in the not too distant future, we can get back to a more face-to-face now things are opening up. We'll be able to get back to a more of a face-to-face scenario in the coming months. So look forward to meeting face-to-face up in Sheffield. We'll do probably a hybrid scenario then, hopefully for our next one. But thanks for your time today, and have a very good week. Take care now. Bye-bye.